डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Hello friends, students and learners of Indian poetics. Today we will discuss Vangmay, Sahitya, Kavya and so on. In fact, it discusses kinds of literature. In English also we have very good books about English literature and what literature is by W.H. Hudson, Introduction to Study of Literature, R.J. Rees, and so on. I would be happy to introduce you to the theory of Vangmay, which is an Indian concept of literature and art. So we start this video on Vangmay. Vangmay is literature mainly in written form. Sahitya is derived from Sahito. But before this, I think we should go back to introduction of Vangmay. The word Vangmay refers to speech, sound or utterance. The word Vangmay is about speech, about sound, about utterance. It is not about written literature, but it is about speech, sound and utterance. The word Vangmay is combination of Vak plus Maya. Vak means Vani, speech, sound, and Maya means made of. So it is related to speech, it is made of speech. It is a verbal discourse. Vangmay is a verbal, not written discourse. In one of the Upanishads called Chandogya Upanishad, it says, speech explains all. We can explain anything through our speech. For example, right now I am explaining the concept of Vangmay and Sahitya and Kavya. How can I do it? Through my speech, through my verbal expression. Speech is musical also. It resounds Brahma. Speech is also musical. It has musical quality. When we speak something, it resounds. There is a kind of musical expression, and that is why it is said that speech resounds Brahma. Brahma is eternal entity. It is permanent, it is eternal, it is universal. And through our speech, one can resound Brahma. For example, Om is regarded as Sabda Brahma. Om is a mantra which is in Indian philosophy, Indian religion and Indian culture. Om is regarded as Shabda Brahma. It is a Shabda, but it resounds Brahma, it represents Brahma, it expresses the Brahma. Vangmay is creation and object of knowledge. Vangmay is such a creation through which we can achieve knowledge. It is an object of knowledge. If we want to learn something, if we want to understand something, if we want to know something, we have to use Vangmay. That is, when we hear somebody's oration, somebody's speech, we learn something. In Indian philosophy, there are three Indian poetics and Indian philosophy, there are three main things: Shruti, Smriti and Kavya. They are all based on Vangmay. Shruti means what is heard. When we hear something, it is Shruti. The word Shruti refers to hearing. When we hear something, it is called Shruti. And Smriti means what is recalled. When we remember something, when we recall something, that recalling, remembrance, recollection is Smriti. And Kavya deals with themes, events and ideas. Actually, poetics refers to Kavya, and Kavya is a major important thing in any poetics. Kavya deals with themes, events and ideas. In India, we have epics like the Mahabharata or the Ramayana, and Puranas, various Puranas, and narrative poems and prose pieces are the part of Vangmay. In Vangmay, there are multiple forms, multiple aspects like epics, Puranas, and narrative poems and prose pieces. They are the part of Vangmay. Vangmay is literature mainly in written form. Actually, the word Vangmay refers to sound, which is oral and we can hear it. But with the passage of time, Vangmay turned into literature, which is now mainly in written form. When Vangmay started, when literature started, it was oral, it was not written. But later, after the development of writing, Vangmay turned into written form. Sahitya is derived from Sahito, together. The word Sahitya means written material, and written material contains everything together, Sahito. So Sahitya, the word Sahitya comes from Sahito. When we use the word Sahita in Gujarati or Hindi or English or Sanskrit, Sahita refers to together, with something. So Sahitya is derived from Sahito. It contains several things and keeps them together. It means there is a combination, coordination, balance in literature. And this means that in literature, in Sahitya, there is a combination, coordination and balance. You must understand this idea that in literature you have plot, dialogues, setting, and so different things. This means that there is a combination. Sahitya is not only one thing, it contains several things. There is a coordination, coherence and balance in literature. When you read a story or a novel, you find that there is a theme, there is a plot, there are dialogues, there is structure of the plot, style, language, chapters, beginning and end. So all these things are coordinated. They are combined in a coherent manner, and it is called literature. Vangmay covers all forms of literature, even grammar, philosophy, logic, science, and medicines, etc. The word Vangmay covers all kinds of literature: grammar, philosophy, logic, science, medicines, and all other branches of knowledge. All branches of knowledge are the part of Vangmay. They can also be called literature. Literature does not mean literature proper only. It refers to any written material. We have, when you buy something, there is a brochure, there is a catalog, there is a written material. When you buy a new computer, you find that there is a small booklet which refers to how to use your computer. So it can be called literature, written material, how to use computer. The same applies to all kinds of material, all kinds of things which we buy from the market, and this kind of literature is called literature in general. Literature in general covers everything: grammar, philosophy, logic, science, medicines, branches of different kinds of knowledge, and also like diaries, catalogs, brochures, and so on. W.H. Hudson, who is a very famous writer, who has written a beautiful book called Introduction to the Study of Literature, he says that Sahitya is a written material. And it comes from the word litera. The root word of literature is litera, and litera means written material. Litera actually means letter, writing, akshar, and so the word akshar or litera, letter, is a written material, and literature comes from the root word litera, written material. The word Sahitya refers to tools, apparatus, furniture, etc. And as I told you earlier, you can understand that Sahitya also refers to tools, apparatus, furniture, etc. We find that there are things like apparatus, furniture, tools. They are all Sahitya, Sahito, together. And here this word Sahitya refers to general meaning, not literature proper. Literature proper is different from literature in general. Presently, literature is defined as expression of human thoughts and feelings in the terms of truth and beauty. But now, what is literature from our point of view? When we use the word Gujarati literature, what do we mean? We mean it is an expression of human thoughts and feelings in terms of truth and beauty. This is the definition of literature. Literature is criticism of life. It is expression of human thoughts, human feelings. and in terms of truth and beauty. It represents truth and beauty together. When we read literature, we experience what truth is, and we also understand the concept of beauty through literature. Literature has following elements. What are the characteristics? What are the elements of literature? Number one, fictionality. Fictionality means fiction, something which is not reality, but it is an imagination. When you read a novel, it is not history. It is a story which is imagined by the writer. The writer creates character, story, theme, and other parts of the literary characteristics. This is called fictionality. Fiction, when we often use the word fiction and non-fiction. Fiction is imaginative literature and non-fiction means real literature. For example, there is a book on geography, on science, physics, chemistry, astronomy. It means non-fiction. But in true literature, literature proper, there is fictionality. There is a use of language. Of course, use of language is there in fiction and non-fiction both. But the use of language in literature is different. It is like Vyangyarth. It doesn't present the realistic meaning or direct meaning or primary meaning, but it presents suggested meaning. That is the use of language. Ornamentation, that is figures of speech. In literature, we find figures of speech, alankaras, ornamentation, that makes literature beautiful. Ambiguity. Literature often contains ambiguity. Ambiguity means something difficult to understand. It is not easy to understand literature. Sometimes it is difficult to understand literature. Why? Because it contains hidden meaning. And hidden meaning is always difficult to understand. You have to find it out. And when you find it out, it may be your own personal understanding. Somebody else may understand in a different way. And that is why in literature we often find that what Valmiki has said, we can understand in a different way. Even Valmiki didn't know that he said so. What Shakespeare has said so, we can interpret it in a different manner. That creates ambiguity. Imagination is there. As I told you about fictionality. Fictionality contains imagination, not reality, not facts, but fiction. Fact is opposite of fiction. Thoughts. In literature, certain thoughts are presented. Thoughts are very important in human mind, and these thoughts are expressed in literature. In literature, there is musical expression. The expression is beautiful. It contains rhythm. In poetry, there are meters also, chanda. So there is a musical expression, aesthetic pleasure. And what is the purpose of literature? The purpose of literature is to provide aesthetic pleasure. When you read a poem, you achieve aesthetic pleasure, which is different from physical, material pleasure. It is like a divine pleasure. Bharata Muni in chapter 16 of Natya Shastra has listed 36 features of Kavya. He calls them Kavya Vibhushan, embellishments of poetry which produce rasa. Bharat Muni in his Natya Shastra in chapter 16 enlists 36 features of Kavya and he calls them Kavya Vibhushan, embellishment of poetry which produce rasa. Rasa is an important theory about which we will discuss later. Two main categories of Vangmay are as follows: Shastra and Kavya. In Vangmay, there are two main categories. One is called Shastra and other is Kavya. Shastra always refers to source of knowledge. It is often scientific. There is not imagination, but reality, the real understanding of knowledge. That is why it is called Shastra. In English, we call it scriptures. And the other category is Kavya. Shastra includes Veda, Vedanga, Purana, logic, Mimamsa, Dharma Shastra, Kavya Shastra and Kama Shastra. Actually, Shastra includes all sources of knowledge, all sources of philosophy, logic and many other things. In present scenario, if we talk about science, technology, physics, chemistry, they can be included in Shastra. And that is why we often use the word Samaj Shastra, Manasa Shastra. We use the word Shastra to express the idea that it is about mind, that is Manasa Shastra. It is about society, that is Samaj Shastra. So Shastra is a source of knowledge. And in our Indian history, we had Vedas, Vedanga, Purana, logic, Mimamsa, Dharma Shastra, Kavya Vidya, even criticism, and art of knowledge, art of poetry, learning of poetry is called Kavya Vidya, and Kama Shastra, the science of eroticism. In Indian philosophy, we have included everything into Shastra from Veda to Kama Shastra. Kavya provides fame to the poet and aesthetic delight to the bhavak. And what happens in Kavya? Kavya provides fame to the poet. The poet becomes famous. Even today, after several thousand years, we remember Valmiki, we remember Vedavyasa, Kalidas, Shakespeare, and many other writers all over the world. Why? Because Kavya provides fame to the poet. And Kavya also provides aesthetic pleasure, aesthetic delight to the reader, to the listener, to the bhavak. Kavya has harmonious combination of Sabda and Artha. And Kavya is a harmonious blending of Shabda and Artha. Mammat in Kavya Prakash says, poetry is a combination of word and sense which is faultless, full of excellence and contains figures of speech. This definition is very important. In Kavya Prakasha, Mammat says, poetry is a combination of word and sense. And there are no faults, there are no doshas, no blemishes. It is full of excellences, it is full of gunas, and it contains figures of speech. So this definition is very important. Definition of Vangmay is verbal discourse, includes written as well as oral literature. And in Vangmay, there is a combination of both kind of literature, written as well as oral. It is related to eloquence, speech and utterance. However, Vangmay is directly related to speech, eloquence and utterance. But with the passage of time, it turned into written material also, and that is why not only oral but written literature is included in Vangmay. Vak means Vani, speech, which means utterance, and Maya means made of. So Vangmay is made of utterance. Chandogya Upanishad says that speech explains all. And Chandogya Upanishad says that everything can be explained through speech only. Here is a figure which shows Vangmay, and there are two categories, Shastra and Kavya. In Shastra, there are two categories, subcategories, Apaurushaya, Paurushaya. Apaurushaya means there is no source of human being. It comes from heaven, it comes from unknown source, not made of any man. For example, when we read a poem, the poem is written by a person, a poet. It is Paurushaya. And Apaurushaya means originated from unknown source, not any human being, but from some hidden source like heaven, divine source, or even source like Paramatma. And that is why Vedas in India, we have 4 important Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda. And you know that these Vedas are not written or created by any person, but by the divine source. Vedanga is also Apaurushaya. And in Paurushaya, that is written by human beings, there are Puranas, logic, Mimamsa, Dharmasastra, Kavya Vidya and Kamasastra. All these are written, created by man, human beings. The word Purush here doesn't simply mean man, but human being. So Paurushaya is something that is created by human beings. And we know that Vangmay has 2 divisions, Shastra. We discussed about Shastra, and then comes Kavya. Kavya is the creation of Kavi. Kavya is also Paurushaya, but it is creation of Kavi, the poet. Kavya is the expression of thoughts and feelings, and Kavya expresses thoughts and feelings. This is a very important characteristics of Kavya or literature. There is expression of thoughts and feelings. Feelings and thoughts create Kavya. Of course, in a very aesthetic manner, in a poetic manner, with the use of Vakrokti, with the use of ornaments, that is figures of speech. But ultimately, the main source of kavya or literature is thoughts and feelings. Kavya includes all literature of prose and verse. Usually we understand that kavya means poetry only, but actually in Sanskrit poetics, kavya includes all kinds of literature, not only verse but prose also. Gadya and Padya, both are included in kavya. Usually we understand that kavya is poetry, but in Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit poetics, kavya includes all kinds of literature, and that is in prose or in verse. Sanskrit, Prakrit and Apabhransa are the three divisions of Indian literature, basic Indian literature. Sanskrit is the language of the elites, educated and scholarly people. Prakrit is the language of the ordinary masses, ordinary people, and Apabhransa is folk language. It is the language of the people which is often distorted into local words, local meanings, and so Apabhransa is not the true word. In Gujarati or in Sanskrit and Hindi, there is a reference of Apabhransa. When we use the word jogi, for example, actually the word is yogi, but it is pronounced as jogi. That is Apabhransa. There are many Apabhrans words which are spoken in Sanskrit, Hindi, Gujarati and many Indian regional languages. It is a folk language, the language of the people, the language of the ordinary people, uneducated people. Sanskrit is considered as mouth. Sanskrit is mouth. Prakrit is arms. And Apabhransa is thighs. So you can understand that Sanskrit is considered as the highest important thing, like mouth. When we speak something, it comes from the mouth only. Mouth is very important. And Prakrit is like arms. Arms are important, but they are for the work, they are for labor, they are for physical actions. Mouth is for Vani, Vak, for speech, for utterance. So it has a higher status. Prakrit has secondary status, and Apabhransa is considered as thighs, and Apabhransa has a lower status. Vedic Vangmay contains Rig Veda, which is the oldest literary work. It is in lyrical form, hymns addressed to Usha, Agni, Varun, Vak, etc. In Rig Veda, there are Rucha, hymns addressed to Usha, that is sunrise, Agni, fire, Varuna, water god, and Vak, speech. Puranas have myth, legend mode, and in Puranas there are mythical stories There are many Puranas like Garuna Puran, Shiva Puran, Vishnu Puran. So these Puranas are in legendary mode. There is a story. You know, Satyanarayan Katha also contains Purana. There are stories which we hear, and these stories are in a mythical, legendary mode. Vedic Vangmay includes Sabdasastra, Vyakaran, Krushi, Chanda, Jyotish, astrology, philosophy, which contains Vedanta, Sankhya, Nyaya, Mimamsa. Then comes Ayurveda, Yoga, Smriti, etc. Vedic Vangmay contains many branches of knowledge, including philosophy, Ayurveda, Yoga, and so on. Poetic concepts of rasa, riti, alankar, gun, etc. are found in Rig Veda. Even the concept of ras, riti, alankar, and gun are found in Rig Veda. Rig Veda is the oldest literary work, and in this oldest literary work there are references of rasa, riti, alankar, and gunas. Vedic Vangmay is a rich legacy of Indian philosophy and culture. And Vedic Vangmay is a great legacy of Indian culture, of Indian philosophy. And even today, we remember Rig Veda, Vedas, and with this we end our discussion about Vangmay, Kavya, Sahitya, and so on. In our next lecture, we will discuss about Kavya Bheda, Kavya Prayojana, and so on. So with this, we end this lecture. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
स्वाध्यायः